Good morning, everybody. Damn, I just tricked myself. I thought that said Thursday, but it's Tuesday. Tuesday, May 8th, 2018 is MMA Junkie Radio's pre-show, the show before the show. Show will get started here in a couple of minutes. We have an in-studio guest today. This is Charles Rosa. You see him over here. That's Dan Tom behind the camera. Danny Elkers, he's in New York. Oh, you're going to hear a voice in your head. You're not going crazy. That's Danny. That's our producer. He's in New York. How's everybody doing this morning?
Pretty good. How about you guys?
Doing all right. It's going to get good, though. Anytime we have an in-studio guest, it's always a fun show.
I had a preview of one of the street fight stories, so I'm very excited for today.
Dude, that's not even my best one. I thought it was
I know. I heard you say that, too. That's why I'm even more excited.
Dude, I got my bike stolen one time. Oh, many times, but one time in particular was a good one.
Hey, Danny, keep talking. Let me turn this up real quick. I'll be right
back. The only experience I've ever had with getting a bike stolen, my dad lived outside of Atlantic City in New Jersey, and his bike got stolen right out of our backyard.
Yeah, I got mine stolen out of my house one time.
Holy shit.
Since I've lived in Florida, I got my bike stolen 5 times, and I've got it back 3 times.
5 times?
I got it back 3 times.
Pee Wee Herman? What kind of bike do you have?
I mean, you think you would learn the first time, but it's like, at that point, I'm just like, all right. I'm just going to keep a better eye on it, you know. I mean, one time they cut the lock, so the first time they cut the lock, so that wasn't my fault. And then once I realized they could cut the lock, I was like, man, I'm not going to buy another lock.
Do you ever, have you ever been at the point when somebody is such a good thief that you tip your hat?
Hey, what's up, man?
You tip your hat to them and you just kind of
take win?
It?
Yeah, I mean.
My uncle in Peru one time was driving, and he had his window open, and somebody on a bike just came by, and he has glasses on his head, and just came by and went, took them off his head and took off. Yeah. And he said he wanted to, like, maybe chase him or something, but he thought,
that actually happened.
This is like the LeBron of thieves.
It actually happened one time I got my bike stolen. The kid, I walked out of Publix, which is in Florida. It's like the supermarkets down there. And the kid was on my bike, and he saw me. I was, like, close enough to maybe catch him. He was across the street, and he just started going on the bike. And he was going so fast, I sprinted. And I just had to respect him. Like, man, he beat me. Like, I couldn't catch him. You know? I gave it everything I got.
Like the little kid from Friday?
Yeah, just like that.
One of the most demoralizing things is when you can't catch someone.
Yeah. Because
you wasted a lot of energy. Now you're sweaty. You feel dumb, and he just keeps going.
Yeah.
That's what that.
He was gaining on me. I was like.
And then remember old telephones like that had these kind of wires, right? Remember when the wire would just get all fucked up? And it's so hard to like unravel it with all the technology today. That's when you just feel like
30. I'm
just a regular man. That's demoralizing.
What road are you guys going?
I'm just a regular man.
Charles has told like 3 street fight stories.
3 already? You're supposed to save them for the show.
He's got so good one. He hasn't even given his best one yet, George. So
yeah,
he's teasing that he has an even better one.
And I also have one about my friend. The reason I came to Vegas, one of the reasons my buddy Rico DeShulo was fighting on the Contender
Stand by,
show.
coming up.
Hang on one second.
Yeah.
This is your captain speaking. We are making our descent into Las Vegas McCarran Airport. On behalf of our crew, we'd like to thank you for flying MMA Junkie Airlines. Now please fasten your seatbelts and put your tray tables in your upright position because the descent is going to be a little bit bumpy.
Alright, Junkie Nation, it's time to roll, baby, on MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Gold. This is what we doing while we do it, baby. All night long, we rollin'! Yeah!
The MMA Junkie Radio revolution is upon us.
Can you dig it?
There's no escape. No escape. Through the vast frontier of cyberspace and through a sea of stars in outer space.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We've solidified our combat communications stranglehold.
We are controlling transmission.
With the use of MMA Junkie Radio and SiriusXM satellite radio technology. MMA Junkie Radio. Commence transmission. Live from MMA Junkie Radio HQ in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Goes.
From the fight capital of the world, inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Racing Sportsbook, you are listening to the MMA Junkie Radio Show, the only show that matters. I'm your host, Gorgeous George. With me, as always, is the devious and dastardly Goes. He's our ace co-host. To my left, it's the fight analyst, Dan Tom. Back east, handling all the producing duties, as always, Danny Otto. And our co-host for the day, UFC featherweight, Charles Rosa in the house.
What's up, guys?
What's up, CR?
Just chilling, man. Happy to be here in Vegas. Initially I came out with my buddy Rico DeShulo is fighting on the Contender Show in June 12th, so I'm going to be one of his additional cornermen. So came out here to do a little bit of filming and decided to stay a couple weeks and take advantage of the UFC Performance Institute, which has been awesome.
And that hasn't been your only travel. I saw you went to Southeast Asia, right?
Yeah, I went to Thailand, Cambodia, so went out there to do a little bit of training. I did some Bokatar training in Cambodia, which is like a mix between Muay Thai and Taekwondo, kind of. Pretty cool.
Was that the one that allows headbutts, right?
No, I don't think it allows headbutts, but
isn't there a martial art that Rich Franklin had told us about out in one championship where they're just clear about?
I don't remember what the name is.
It's almost everything goes.
Pretty much, except for fish hooking and eye gouging. Back to like UFC 1.
UFC 1, okay.
Yeah, that's the best kind of fighting. And then I went to Thailand after that. Went to Phuket, Thailand, get a little bit of Muay Thai training in and stuff like that. See some old friends. It was really fun experience. I love going out there. Kind of just clears my head, gets me back so I can get ready for my next fight.
Which gym did you visit in Thailand?
I went to this place, Rawai Muay Thai. It's more like, so a lot of people go to like Tiger and those like big gyms, like the MMA gyms, but I kind of found these little like hidden gem ones that are like really the roots of Muay Thai and stuff like that. And they got some really, cool coaches there, and like it's a little bit different. It's not as much MMA based. Like they don't really teach jiu-jitsu or wrestling, but their clinch and their like straight Muay Thai is amazing, and that's kind of what I get to work on a little bit when I'm there, and they really focus on that more.
And you're back for a couple weeks, right?
Yeah, I'm here till May 12th, so I got another week here.
And you're officially, we can't say you're in camp?
No, I'm not in camp right now.
There's no fight booking out there. I was looking, but there's...
Yeah, no, not yet. So I'm just getting back into it, finishing training. And like I said, got the opportunity to come out here and use the Performance Institute. I came here about a year ago when they opened the Performance Center, and it was a UFC athlete retreat when they brought all the fighters out here, which was cool, and they showed us everything that we're accessible to, like the Performance Institute. They got the hot bath, the cold bath, the physical therapists, the trainers, the whole gym, and when they told us, like, I never really thought, like, I'd really take advantage of it. But when I came out here and saw a bunch of the other fighters here using it, man, it's really something. I think more fighters that are in the – because it's only accessible to UFC fighters and they can bring a training partner. But I think a lot more guys need to take advantage of it, especially if they're coming back from injuries and stuff like that, because they got the Olympic physical therapy team. They got this girl, Heather, and Bobby, and they're really amazing. So.
And have you tried out the cuisine? It's free for the athletes, but I know you have a palate that's a respected palate. So how do they bring it in that department? Or?
Dude, the food's actually amazing. It's really good. I look forward to lunch every day. They got everything. They got healthy food. They got salmon, New York strip, stuff like that. So and it's legit. It's good food.
I'd be like this if I was the chef. When they send it out, like, did he like it? Like on Kitchen Nightmares, what'd he say?
Yeah.
For those that don't know, Charles is a professional chef.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he's got to be rubbernecking going, did he like what he say?
That would freak me out, though.
Feedback, or
I know,
he's not mad, is he? I can cook him up something else. I'll make him a chicken parm sandwich or something.
If I were the other guy on the other side and I saw the chef doing that, I would think maybe put a booger or something, and now he's trying to get even.
A booger to a
then
fighter?
he get his ass
Hell
whooped.
no.
Well, something. You never know. So let me ask you something.
But like Viking from Bad Boys 1?
That's a big-ass
The
booger, huh?
original.
How did he breathe with that thing in there? It's like a Cocoa Puff.
Real fast, I know Goes has a question for Charles Rosa. Let me just take a quick tangent. People always ask, hey, I'm on a long trip. What should I watch? In fact, Casey from Fighting was traveling to Brazil to cover UFC 224, and I saw that. It was a late post. I go, Chapo on Netflix, Cobra Kai on YouTube. But if you really want to go old school, Sean Penn, Isai Morales, Ali Sheedy, the original Bad Boys. I'm not talking about that bullshit with
Will Smith and Martin
Michael
Lawrence.
Bay.
And shit just got real. Hey, that was a good movie. I shouldn't hate on it. I'm talking about the original Bad Boys back in the early 80s. It's a great movie, and there's a big old booger scene. Go ahead, Gus.
Huge booger. All right, you just met us for the first time. We've had you on the show before. Do you think he wore that shit on purpose?
Yeah, I mean,
to get on your good side?
Yeah, he's looking nice
You
today.
like plaid?
First thing he came in was talking about the
Boston
Boston
Green?
Celtics. Yeah.
Oh,
I was
that,
blood red mad early. That was our introduction.
No. Did they sweep? No, they're down 3-1. Or, sorry, they're up 3-1.
No, they're up 3-1, yeah.
Okay.
Not supposed to
They
do
couldn't
that.
have been thumping his chest. They lost last night.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah, no, but
But I'll give it up. You guys don't have your best two players, Gordon Hayward and Kyrie Irving, and they almost swept them. So that I'm pretty sure you guys are going to handle your business.
Yeah, I think once we go home, we're undefeated at home in the playoffs. The Celtics are, so I mean, I think it'll be good. I mean, I was really upset about the Bruins. I'm even more of a Bruins fan. No, they're out now. So
okay. You want to ask us about the Vegas Golden Knights?
No, I actually like the Vegas Knights. Honestly, like that's like the only other team that I'm rooting for. They've been winning me some money here in Vegas, so I just they keep doing their thing. So I'm just hopping on the bandwagon now that the Bruins are off. So
yeah. Now we were obviously researching you, and you don't have to go too far to see how proud of a Boston Bruins fan you are. You have a lot of the pictures with you in the jersey back in the old days.
Yeah, when before the Reebok sponsorship. But yeah, that was probably, I'd say that was like one of the proudest moments in my life, being able to walk out in the Boston Garden where I grew up as a kid, where the Celtics, the Bruins won championships. I got the banners hanging up to walk out in a Boston Bruins jersey with my name on the back. And pick up my first UFC win at the Boston Garden where I grew up as a kid, watching the games from the, nosebleeds and stuff like that, and to be able to be the one at the center of attention was pretty cool. And then, also at that fight in particular, the Boston Bruins team was there, so they watched me, so I got to meet a bunch of the players after and stuff like that, and, I still talk to some of them and get to go to some of the games and stuff like that, so it was really awesome experience.
That's cool. You're talking about the TD Garden, right?
Yeah. I call it the Garden. I mean,
okay, I just want to make sure because I know you guys have a new arena and the historic Boston Garden.
Yeah. It's called the TD Garden. But
I just wanted to make sure because what is it, like 10 years old?
I think it's like 10, 12, maybe even more.
I thought maybe I'm off and maybe he did get a chance because that was like 4 years ago.
Yeah, I think I went to the original Garden when I was a kid, but
we were talking about that rivalry, and I was telling them how much, as much as we hated them, how much we respected a lot of their players, the old Celtics team.
Respected the rivalry and their team. And
do you remember when they tore up the old, what's it called? The
parquet.
Was that what it's called?
Yeah,
the floor.
The parquet.
They were selling it piece by piece.
I think I got one of the bricks or the seats or something like that.
Did you?
It's somewhere in my room.
I considered buying one just to be able to say like, hey man, this is a piece of a lot of shit that went down.
Right. Yeah. Charles, how old are you? Like
31.
31. Okay. Yeah. And so 80. Well, so you may have been a young catching the end of Magic and Bird, right?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of remember it, but not really. I don't remember like sitting in front of the TV and watching it, but I do like know about the rivalry, obviously, and stuff like that.
Yeah. See the stuff that happens now, or hey, let's all play together and sign as a free agent, and we'll be friends and we'll win a time. That didn't happen, man. Wherever you got drafted, and if you had the opportunity to pick up a key free agent to help your squad for next year, or do a trade. Boom, But even the players, they just couldn't see themselves going to the other team. It was like it just wasn't gonna happen. But now it's a different era. They make a ton more money.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Social media.
It's crazy. Like I mean, you see LeBron. He was in Cleveland. He leaves. They're burning his jersey, things like that, going nuts. And then now he's back there. It's like I don't get it. But
by the way, speaking of sweeping, they did sweep Toronto. Yeah. That's amazing. Toronto was the #1 team. I got to get this straight. I was going to say the AFC in the Eastern Conference, and Cleveland towards the end was not playing well. A lot of people felt like, okay, Golden State or the Rockets maybe on the West, and who in the East, and a lot of people were pointing towards Toronto, maybe Cleveland, but boy, they got to get a lot of things. They fucking swept them, and they were impressive, and so was LeBron. The playoffs really is a whole other season, so congrats to them. I believe you guys are definitely going to move on. I think the Warriors clinched yesterday. Yeah. And the Rockets, I think, are on the verge or as well. So, anyway, the playoffs have been fun, both hockey and NBA. So you seem to be a sports fan of even outside of combat sports.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I think, even how I got into fighting is I loved sports so much. Like, ever since I was 3 years old, since I could walk, I could skate. I played hockey my whole life. Up until college, through college, I played at Johnson & Wales University, where I also got my culinary degree. And that's, I played. I was a tri-sport athlete. I played hockey, lacrosse, football. I was best at hockey and lacrosse, and those are my two favorites. So those are the ones I focused on. But that's kind of actually what ended up getting me into MMA, is because I was about 22 years old and I moved to South Florida, and just kind of like restart things and kind of get like a fresh start in life. And I got a job at cooking at a restaurant and stuff like that. And one of the things I was lacking is I played sports my whole life up until I moved down there, and that was like the one time in my life I wasn't on a team or in some type of physical activity. So I decided to join like a men's lacrosse league, and it was yeah, and that's what it was. It was a men's lacrosse league. So like I'd go in and I'd score like 6 goals, competitive, like trying to win every game. And they're like, hey man, just chill out, like trying to get in fights, you know, like we're really trying to win every game. And they're all drinking beer, just chilling, having fun. Like man, you don't have to like try so hard. And I'm like, man, this isn't the league for me. Like I got to find something competitive. Like I have a competitive edge in me, and I need to find something that I can like vent it out and use it. So another suggestion from a friend, they suggested maybe I try like a boxing gym. My uncle Tommy, his name's Tom the Bomb Rosa. He's a multiple-time Tough Man competition winner. You know, before they had like the UFC and stuff like that, they had Tough Man boxing competitions. So
there's really Mr. T was in.
I believe so, actually. Yeah, Tough Man competitions, and he won. He won like 6 or 7 of them throughout the damn. So I always looked up to my uncle Tom Rosa, growing up as a kid. So that was something I always had in the back of my head, like try boxing. But I never really had the opportunity to do it because I played so many sports. So once I was in South Florida, and I was on that lacrosse team, I wanted to find something competitive, and I walked into what I thought was a boxing gym, but it was an MMA gym. It was an American top team in Boca Raton, run by Charles McCarthy. Cole Miller was there. Todd Duffy was one of the coaches. And, man, the first day I went into the gym, actually it was the first class I ever took was Cole Miller's kickboxing class. And I didn't even think I didn't even have my own mouth guard, a pair of gloves. Didn't even have a mouth guard. I borrowed a pair of gloves to do the class. In the last 15 minutes, Cole was like, all right, guys, time for sparring, you know. So I did the whole 45 minutes, and I came there to be able to spar. Like, that's what I want to do. I'm competitive. I didn't come there just to throw a couple punches and kicks. And at the end, I didn't have a partner. So Cole was teaching the class. And this is obviously before I had really any, like, real respect for martial arts. You know, like, I'm a black belt. Jiu-jitsu, have a lot of respect for martial arts. But I was just a tough street Boston kid. So the last 15 minutes of the class, I didn't have a sparring partner, and I was like, hey, coach, you think I could spar with you? I don't have a partner. He's like, oh, it's your first day, you know, mouth guard. And I was like, oh, I don't care. I want to spar. So he kind of just ignored me, like gave me like a cocky like look away, like, all right, dude, whatever, like you're not doing. So I go, and since he didn't answer me, I go, you want to spar? And he didn't. He kind of ignored me, and I go, and then he looked back, and I said it again. I said, was that a no? And he goes, all right, you want to go? And I said, let's go. And basically, I friggin' fought Cole Miller for 5 rounds, 5 3-minute rounds of boxing. My first day ever in any type of mixed martial arts gym, and went to war with him. I mean, I still feel I won the fight, but I'm sure if you got the video, it'd probably say something different. But I remember going home that night, like,
how long ago was this?
Fuck, this is 7 years ago. And Charles.
So he had already done his version of tough, right?
Yeah, he was man, he was training for.
But you didn't know much about MMA.
Oh, I didn't know. I didn't know who Cole Miller was. No,
okay.
I didn't know who he was. I thought he's some skinny tall kid that just whooped my ass. And I went home and I was like, man, fuck. I guess I got a lot of work to do in this sport. I mean, some skinny tall kid just beat me and just kind of, you know, gave me a good licking. I had a little fat lip, but you know, I still thought I did good. I'm like, I still whooped him a little bit. But then the next day I came back again to the class, and Charles McCarthy, who was the owner of the gym at the time, took me into the back room, and he's like, hey man, he's like, I saw what you did last night. You did pretty good. He's like, what gym do you come from? I go, I ain't come from any gym. He's like, what do you mean, you never trained before? I'm like, no, I played hockey and stuff. He goes, wait, you've never trained any type of mixed martial arts? And I was like, well, you know, I've been in street fights and stuff like that. I did a little bit of karate when I was a kid, you know, but nothing real. And he's like, man, you got a real talent. He goes, do you know that kid that you just went with last night, the kid you were sparring with? He goes, he's training for a pretty big fight. And I was like, nah, who was it? And he goes, it's Cole Miller. He's a top 10 fighter in the world. At that time, he was, I think, 10 or 11 ranked in the whole world in the UFC. And he's like, you did really good with him. And I'm like, And that second, like, was the second the light bulb went off in my head, and I realized, you know what? I go, and I went home that night, and I looked up Cole Miller and all of his accomplishments, and the light bulb went off. I said, man, if that kid can do what he's done, I know I can do it, because I don't have any of the training or any of the, you know, like, the time that he's put in, and I just felt it. Like, it was something I knew in my heart that I said, if I stick with this, I can do it. And Charles McCarthy also gave me the reassurance. He goes, Charles, I'm not just spinning your wheels here. He goes, if you stick with this, you can make it to the UFC. And, you know, I didn't know if he was just saying that to try to get me to sign up in the beginning, but he gave me the reassurance. You know, he'd get me that, pay monthly. But Sure enough, I stuck with it. 8 years later,
That's a cool story.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Charles noticed that there was something in you. What about
Yeah.
Cole at the end of that sparring session? Did he say anything?
He was kind of he was always a little bit standoffish. Me and Cole are awesome, really close now. Been awesome training partners for years, but it took me, I think, a little while to get his respect, and I think I earned it the tough way, putting in the rounds. Another day they even brought in, and then like 2 days after I went with Cole, they brought in Brian Bowles, who ended up being a WEC world champion. He was training for this is something that also made a light bulb go off. This was like about a week later, they brought Brian Bowles in. I didn't know who he was, just saw some little, short kid that.
Well, he may have been champ at the time?
Miguel Torres. No, he was up against Miguel Torres.
Okay.
He wasn't the champ yet, so he was about to become the champion.
Mm-hmm.
And about 2 weeks before his fight, I was sparring with him, putting to work, and I remember keeping an eye on him. And then I ended up watching that fight when he beat Miguel Torres and won the WEC World Championship. And I was like, dude, this kid's a champion of the world. I was just beating him up. Like I said, if you watch the rounds, it'd probably be close. But in my head, I was like, man, dude, I'm right there already, and I haven't even started yet. So that's kind of how I really got into mixed martial arts and how I fell in love with it, and I stuck with it, and obviously I'm at where I'm at now, and still got a ways to go before I get my final goal to be the champ.
I walked in the. This is gonna be a fun show. I can already tell. Lots to cover
Pre-show
here.
we knew.
I'm taking notes, but I'll tell you what. Let's take some calls real fast. Again, we have Charles McCarthy from the UFC here in studio with us. Featherweight, that's 145 pounds. No fight booking as of yet, but hopefully soon. Right, Charles?
Yeah. I'm hoping soon. I'm hoping to get back in there. I would say, actually that's actually one of the reasons I also came here, to take advantage of the UFC Performance Institute to get some physical therapy. I'm just coming back from a little injury, jacked up my neck pretty bad, and but the good news is
that was before the Ige fight. Dan Ige?
Yeah, that's why I got pulled from the fight.
Gotcha.
So the doctors had to pull me from the fight. Wouldn't let me do it. It wasn't my choice. I would, never.
Muscular or skeletal?
Muscular, and it was a little bit of both. So yeah, I was able to get it fixed and taken care of through the UFC. Everything worked out. We're finishing up the physical therapy now. It feels great. I felt, this is something I've been dealing with since my first UFC fight. So I was having muscle atrophy in my shoulders, in my biceps, and my triceps, and it was really affecting me a lot. And the fact that it's able to come back and I feel stronger than ever, I'm really kind of excited to see.
Back?
Yeah, I got them back, and I feel like I'm going to be able to do, show the world what I'm really capable of.
Awesome, man. All right, so yeah, I imagine a lot of these callers want to talk about that. So let's just at least glance over this big news. The UFC reaches a deal with ESPN to stream live events beginning in January of 2019. So I was trying to read it and decipher it. And I'm one of those guys that's read it 3 or 4 times. But it's not a TV broadcast deal. So for those of you that are wondering if they're done with Fox, we don't know. Last we checked, I think Fox and NBC and ESPN and NBC had wanted to do share in that. So what this seems to be is like the digital platforms.
Contender Series.
Contender Series. The fights that you normally know that are only available on Fight Pass would be here. Pre and post fight coverage would be here. Countdowns, things like that. But yes, you would get live fights, and I saw the number of 15 fights, committing to 12 bouts per card. So that's a lot. That's like a lot of right now. I think there's only 4 UFC Fight Pass fights per year. So this is definitely a step up there. But again, there's still a broadcast deal to be had, and then there's pay-per-view as well. Although we're hearing pay-per-view may be less. But I was trying to do the math. If there's 15 here and there's committing to 24 with the new broadcast partner, that's 39. 13 pay-per-views, that's fucking 52. But if they only do 6 instead of 13, at least that brings them back to 46, which is still a stacked year, man. How big is that roster going to be?
I know, right?
Wow. I don't know. So sketchy details and coming in. What have you been able to observe on this?
Well, I was thinking about it, and I don't like being negative. So the one thing I can always think of is when it comes to the UFC and making business deals, they rarely come out on the losing end of it. They usually, whatever they ask for, somehow they manage to get it. So I would imagine they got a lot of things that they felt would keep the integrity of what the UFC is trying to do and what mixed martial arts is all about when it comes to ESPN. When you think of ESPN, you think Disney. And when you think Disney, you don't think fighting, right? You think... when you go back to the Anaheim Ducks, right? What was the first thing they did with that team, right? Hey, they try and keep away from the fights, right?
Yeah.
So, and then if you look at the way they cover boxing, they've never really been that great at that. So, combat sports and Disney, I don't know that they go hand in hand. But again, I go back to what the UFC's been able to do in business deals before, and I would imagine they cross that bridge. So hopefully their coverage will be a little better than what they do for boxing. But man, I mean,
are they taking over production?
What's going to happen with Fight
ESPN
Pass?
taking over production?
I doubt it. I would seriously doubt that.
The UFC's rarely given that up, if ever. And I didn't see anything to that effect. But again, this is something. This is just an initial, distribution toward to the media. You know, they're communicating that this media release that came out this morning, that this is what they're going to do. I am seeing ESPN Plus goes for $4.99 a month or $49 per year, and it looked like in one of either the media release I saw or Junkie, they had found that it's worth $150 million annually. So with the TV broadcast deal, for sure they're going to exceed the original deal that they had with Fox. So good on them. And I know one thing, I had plans to have lunch with a UFC employee, and he goes, "We can't, man. We're having this big old lunch to celebrate the big deal." So everyone's pretty ecstatic over there. All right, let's take some quick calls here. Let's go through a run of them. We'll start off with Rick in Alaska. What's up, Rick? How you doing?
Hey, pretty good. I was going to talk about this broadcast deal that they just announced. I see positive and negatives. The clear negative, which Goes talked about, was what happens to UFC Fight Pass. That's pretty much now just an archive website that features Invicta and Fight Night cards. Not UFC Fight Night cards, but, the over-the-seas Fight Night cards. And that's fine for me personally. I think that I'm still on the bandwagon that if they're going to have Fight Pass, they should somehow incorporate a discount on the pay-per-views if you're going to stream them over their site, because there's no in-between person. So that's one thing that if they say, hey, if you're a Fight Pass member, you get 15% off our pay-per-views or something like that, because now that Dana White's Contender Series is moving over to ESPN Plus, I really don't see a purpose for Fight Pass besides just watching cards from 3 years ago. And
let me say something real fast.
That,
One of the paragraphs here says, in addition to the live events and content booked on ESPN Plus subscription, which again I quoted as $4.99 a month or $49.99 per year, fight fans will be able to purchase and watch UFC Fight Pass and UFC pay-per-view events via ESPN Plus for a separate cost. So, like you said, Rick, if you're paying $9.99 a month for Fight Pass, or $8.99 if you commit to 6 months, or $7.99 if you commit to 12 months, then you're wondering, am I going to have to pay the $4.99 for ESPN Plus, which, by the way, you get a bunch of other shit too, not just UFC content. Am I going to have to pay that and $9.99? Sorry. It could be that for this separate cost, maybe that's where you catch a break, and maybe you won't be paying more, but getting a lot, maybe more than what you're used to, but still getting a lot more. I would like to see that play out. If at worst, you'd still be getting you'd be getting hammered for another $5 a month. I get what you're saying. If you want to keep the Fight Pass for the other promotions, for the archives, the whole library that they have. So I think that still has to play out before we really have much more of an opinion.
I just don't think UFC cares about Fight Pass, honestly. I think they were trying to get something going. WWE Network was successful, but that doesn't seem to be their focus at all. And so I'm kind of done comparing it to the WWE Network. I just don't think they're going to be they're not going to be like each other, especially with this new deal. And they're pretty happy with the format that ESPN Plus offers. And I just hope Fox ends up being the broadcast partner that picks up UFC, because without UFC, I don't know what the hell happens to Fox Sports 1. That's essentially the UFC channel. And without the UFC partnering with Fox Sports, anytime there's no soccer, that's just going to be a desolate channel, kind of like NBC Sports.
Well, NBC Sports has the English Premier League. Fox has Champions League.
NASCAR.
You're right, yeah, but I would like to see it from a consistency. I know that a lot of people dropped off just from Spike to the Fox era. Remember, we had to go through FX, FXX, Fox Sports 1, Fox Sports 2. If a baseball game was on, put it on this one. That got to be a little bit confusing, and I'd rather at least keep that consistency. But those are two big titans in the TV landscape, and I don't know. But, we're hearing there are rumors that even NBC could be a third partner. So a lot more has to play out, my man. I agree with you. Thanks for the call, Rick. I agree with you on one thing. We all felt like we were going to get to the point where the UFC Fight Pass would be your haven for the pay-per-views at a price. We all thought, well, give us all of them. And now your subscriber base, which is rumored to be at 500 million, or sorry, 500,000, would get every pay-per-view at a discounted price, but you don't have the pay-per-view provider to give their share to, and maybe your numbers would climb because now you're not paying 64. I think they're up to $64. Since they didn't go that way, then I understand people's frustrations. Now, you got to remember, too, in 2016, they had 5 pay-per-views sell over $1 million. So I don't think the UFC looked at their ledger and goes, wow, pay-per-views are suffering. Last year wasn't as good, but a lot of stars were gone. If some of these stars return, I think they feel like they're still competitive in that field, whereas I believe WWE was not getting those kind of numbers outside of WrestleMania and maybe a big SummerSlam or whatever. What do I know? I'm not too much of a WWE expert. Let's keep going here with the calls. Brian from Boston, your neck of the woods. All right, what's up, Brian?
Hey, boys, you got a Bostonian in there finally classing up that joint.
What's up, dude?
Well, maybe 2 things. Did you guys see that they're talking about GSP versus Nate, that might actually take shape?
Yeah.
I only saw it on bjpen.com, and it's hit or miss with those guys. I haven't seen it on any. Has it been on our site?
I saw it on somewhere else, too.
Really?
Yeah. Did it finally make our site?
Yeah.
It did.
Look,
I think
man,
it might have this morning.
I'll tell you how I feel about that, Brian. There's a group of fighters. It's on our site now? Okay. Well, then it's got traction. It's got legs. It's incredible. No, but listen, there are fighters that right now I've just given up on, and I consider them like money fighters, I guess, or GSP, Conor, the Diaz brothers. They're kind of doing their own thing, and you know what? In a way, I'm like, go do your own thing. Don't disrupt a division, though, and don't disrupt the title, landscapes of any of these divisions. So GSP got his title, gave it up, he made history. All right, cool. If you guys are going to go out, make a bunch of money, and the UFC's in on it, then who am I to stop him? But once you start involving Khabib or tying up any sort of a, the title contenders, the title contentions and title contenders and all that, that's when I start to tune out a little bit. What do you think, man?
That was a little odd.
And did you even see that fight being competitive?
No.
Remember Rory tossing around?
Yeah, I remember. I think Joey Diaz said he needed a parachute, right? He just kept going up in the air.
Going up in the air.
St. Pierre, I think, has kind of earned the right to do these type of things. We understand where he's at in his point of his career, what he's done for the sport. He never really ducked anyone.
Stuck in Woodley, then. That's how I see it now.
Maybe. But Nate Diaz.
Bisping, all right, history. Why not Woodley? That's my question.
Yeah. But you want to know why not? Because the UFC is willing to do shit like this. And Nate Diaz, I don't know that he's at that point in his life. Like, really, when you look at big pay-per-views, Nate Diaz attached to Conor McGregor makes a lot of money. Nate Diaz without it, there's only a few other guys maybe you could plug in that would.
It wouldn't be
sell.
as big as Conor. I agree.
No, it wouldn't. But I don't know that he has this leg to stand on. That he's. But props to Nate for pulling it off. If he does pull it off, but really, I don't know that he has that leg.
He
to stand
doesn't
on
care
to
about
do
being
that
a champion. He
stuff.
wants to make money. I still disagree and wish I could tell him if you were champion, you'd make a lot of money and you'd be champ. How cool would that be? But Brian, what do you think? You into it?
Yeah, you know what, George? Your definition is exactly how I feel about it. It's a fun fight to watch. Let the boys make some money. It doesn't get in the way of any of the titles, so I'm all for it. Just put it on there for watching. You basically said exactly how I feel. Real quick before I jump off, you had mentioned old school Celtics versus Lakers. And in my house on a running loop, I have Kevin McHale tearing Kurt Rambis down to the ground.
Yeah.
I laugh every time, man.
Kareem and Bird, McHale and
yeah.
Rambis. That was a lot. Even Magic and Bird,
right.
Those guys would go face to face, and it was pretty intense, man. Those were the days. Thanks, Brian.
I'll tell you.
Go ahead. Finish up.
I was just going to say, back then when I was watching that, I assumed that basketball would always be that good. You know, that it kind of had like a downturn for a while, but I feel like hoops is back. Anyways, I'll jump off.
All right, see you, bud. Scores are through the roof, man. There's some high scores out there. So basketball is fun. There's a lot of great players. Defense, not too many teams play it. I noticed something, Charles. His Boston accent. You've lost a little bit of yours, right?
Yeah, actually, now I live down in South Florida, so
right.
I've been down there for a little bit. But if I go home for even a couple days or a week, it comes right back. Yeah.
Chilling with the boys.
Yeah, chilling with the boys. You know.
Do you drink?
No, I don't drink.
Ever?
Okay. No, never drank.
All right. And then one other question I want to ask you. Aside from your uncle, I thought you had a family of history in boxing. A grandfather too? Or?
Yeah. My grandfather boxed in the Navy. Yeah, so he was a Navy boxer. So that was where it started. Then it went to my uncle.
I don't want people to peg you. I mean, you have said it a few times, and we're probably going to get to it about the street fight thing.
Yeah.
I feel like you knew how to throw a punch because the family, there was
I
an
did.
influence
No,
there.
I did definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up with my older brothers and my uncles chasing me around the house every day. You know what I'm saying? Like every day, every family event I went to, getting tortured by them. Getting chased around the beach. I definitely took my fair share of beatings when I was a kid. So that definitely made me tough. From when I was since I can remember. So that was definitely one of the one of the games they used to play when I was a kid. It'd be instead of hide and go seek, it'd be hide and go beat. So if you get caught, you get your ass whooped. You take a beating. So you really trying to find a hide. Yeah, you'd be trying to find some serious hiding spots. So that's just just an example of how I grew up. I mean, there was a lot of things that made me tough and made me who I am. But definitely it started when I was young.
Did you ever win hide and go beat? Like,
yeah,
did they ever not
the way you win is
we give up, come out, no beating.
If it'd be all my cousins, everybody would be hiding, and if you're the last one found, you don't take a beating, So that's it. That's the way it goes.
It's like Nelson Muntz at that family reunion, running around beating people up.
That's no joke.
I feel like one of those Japanese World War II soldiers you find like years after the game's over, just still hiding. Like, is it safe?
Yep.
Yeah, he went home early. He didn't stick around for the barbecue. We can't find him. We better take a break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. Stay close, folks. We'll be right back. We'll jump on some more calls. We're free and clear till the top of the hour. We'll talk to UFC bantamweight Cody Stamen. He just got back from Japan. He was cornering Darren Cruikshank, former UFC veteran. But he's also been beefing with Aljamain Sterling on social media. Wanted to see if that has any traction, if the matchmakers paid attention to it. Does he feel like that fight could be made? Sterling, he wants Cruz, but Cruz has not committed to anybody. So we'll see if we can straighten that out and figure out a little bit more about that, see how his travels were to Japan. All right, we'll be right back after this break. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93 with Charles Rosa in the house.
King Kong has a lot of shit on them. Like a lot. Especially Goes. Here are Gorgeous George and Goes.
Listen to Fantasy Sports Radio for expert advice to win your fantasy baseball league and start preparing for fantasy football season. Their experts tell you how to make winning trades and which NFL rookies will be the future stars of fantasy football on Sirius 210 XM87, streaming on your phone and at home on connected devices and speakers. Charles, you're a Patriots fan too?
Yep.
Yeah. You a fantasy football player?
Yep. I play fantasy football also.
Yeah, with your homies or
actually,
your MMA peeps?
Actually, I still work one day a week at a restaurant, Cut 432. It's a steakhouse in South Florida, in Delray Beach, and I've been in the league with them since I started working there when I worked full time. Even though I just work like once a month there now, I still hop in the fantasy league with them. You know, it's pretty cool. So it's all the waiters and bartenders and other cooks.
When we look at the standings, would we look at the top or the bottom for Charles Rosa's
I'm
name?
always number one. That's
Yeah.
you know, I'm competitive. So some people don't like to update their stuff, but if I mean we put money in it. So when there's money in it, like I'm trying. You know.
You're working the trades. You're working the phones
I'm working
during the week.
trades. I don't do as many trades as I just keep up to date with everything. But I do what I got to do to win. So.
Your team is created at the draft. You
And it's
well
usually all Patriots, so it's usually money every year. I just draft all
come
the Patriots players. Tom Brady.
I guess I set myself up by
yeah,
asking
you
that
did.
One, right?
That's it.
I'm Patrioted
They always
out.
get mad because I draft all the Patriots
Enough
players.
with the Patriots,
but you
man.
know
They've
why,
had such
though?
an incredible run. What is
Dude.
it? 5 titles in
Yeah, you
15
think it's
years or
over?
something like that?
Do you think it's over? No
Yeah.
way.
Bro, Brady's 41
Dude,
now.
He's gonna
Come on.
play
They
again
say-
though.
How many
Gronk
years?
might only have one more year. They're
How many
saying.
years have they been saying that?
Offensive coordinator went one way. The defensive
How
coordinator
many-
went the other way.
How many years have they been saying that?
You're
Brady's
coming off
done?
the Super Bowl
They've
loss.
been saying that for 5 years. Yeah, they were in the Super Bowl. It came down to the
I
last
know,
play.
but-
Like that, you can't. It could have went either way.
And if Atlanta don't fuck up.
Atlanta already fucked up last year when they lost.
Atlanta,
to
that lead Atlanta
the Super
had,
Bowl.
If they would have said, George, you
that's
coach
a
the second
definite-
half, I would have coached
If
the
you
victory.
if you look up "fucked up" in the dictionary, you're gonna see the Atlanta Falcons New England Patriots football game. Second
dude,
half.
did you go nuts?
Dude,
that must have been that must have been the greatest sports day ever.
Yeah, it was the
Could
best.
it be?
Yeah, it
if you're
wild.
if you're a Boston fan, right?
Yeah, it was the best thing ever. I mean, I never count Tom Brady out because he's came back so many times. You know, I mean, I'm never the type of person to give up. Like, I'm a fighter, you know, so you know how it is. Like, I'm gonna fight to the last second and hope to the last second. But at halftime, I was like, "Oh, this is."
Was this
gonna
in
be
Florida? Is that where you watched it?
Yeah, I was watching in South Florida, and I got a lot of cousins from Boston down there. Got like a whole family down there of all my cousins that moved down. They all have babies now and stuff. So I got like a whole little crew down there. But we all watched it together. It was pretty special.
That was an amazing comeback, man. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see. I mean, Brady and Belichick is the cog. I think Gronk is a very important piece, and he's committed to coming back. And it just seems like Belichick finds a way, no matter if he loses these missing parts. 2 coordinators, though, is a bit much. I don't know. I have no room to talk. My 49ers suck.
Yeah.
Your Redskins are better than my 49ers.
But they're on the decline, I think.
Yeah, they're not a contender. So we'll see.
Redskins, baby.
It's going to be a fun year. Goes paid $2. Goes paid Dan $2. He's now a Redskins fan.
And a Dodger fan.
He was not a fan of football, and he bought him for $2.
He's
right.
He's an easy buy then.
And a
Easy.
Dodger fan for so total $4.
I'll give you
$4?
$5 for the Patriots.
I'm from. Okay, we got competition here.
I'll go 6.
All right. We guys still got an hour and
Yeah.
18 minutes to sort that out.
It's a
It's
bit,
showtime.
All right, let's go to Gage in Fort Myers, Florida. What's up, Gage? How you doing?
Doing great, guys. How about yourself?
Good, thank you.
Yeah, I was coming in excited. The dude from Boston stole my thunder with the Nate Diaz GSP thing. But also, that came straight from Dana White on the UFC Unfiltered. He had an interview on there. That came straight from him. And he also said that they're working on the next season of Tough is going to be heavyweights and I guess female 145ers. So it means they're working on Cyborg's division, which is nice.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even call it a division. I think it's just Cyborg and a bunch
Yeah,
of 45ers
right now.
that are moving up to 45 to get their asses kicked. Megan Anderson is an Invicta champion, former now. She's now with the UFC. She's fighting Holly Holm. I don't know how she would do against Cyborg, but I was anxious to see that. Holm gave her a fight for a while, but Cyborg, I think, was clearly better over the course of the fight. Not to say that I wouldn't want to see a rematch, because Holm at least has size and so much technique from becoming a kickboxer, from her days as a boxer. But the one Goes always nails it. What's her name? Jorina Bars, right?
Yeah.
From Holland.
Yeah, I don't
who
understand
beat
why
her
they haven't
in
done
Muay
that.
Thai and has size. She's like 5'11", 6'1",
She can
not
get gangster.
intimidated. Huh?
She can get
but it's an
gangster
MMA
on the
fight.
mic.
Yeah, but it's an MMA fight. Like
But
I mean,
if you're
Cyborg
just trying
doesn't
to,
seem too interested in going to the ground. Like, if they can just mix it up, I mean, it's something at least. You know?
That's true.
I'm just saying, if you're trying to build something where you could possibly tell people, hey, this girl may have a shot.
Well, the
why not
reason
take
I
the
know
girl
is
that
because
beat her?
I went to I went to Holland many times and trained Dutch kickboxing in Amsterdam and stuff, and all the kickboxing gyms, and their jiu-jitsu, like, they have zero wrestling and zero jiu-jitsu. Whereas here, like, you might find some kickboxing gyms that they at least know how to do something, but there's like. I mean, I don't know if she's ever trained it, but that would be a big. I think that'd be a big.
Let me look up and see
Join
if she
the
has
bars?
any
Her
fights.
MMA
right
record
here.
is not that good. What's that?
I got it right here.
What
She's
is it?
1-3 as a pro and 0-1 as an amateur. Nothing dates past 2013 though. It's the last fight.
Yeah. What about Amanda Nunes and Cyborg? Have they talked about?
They have talked about fighting, but now Nunes has Pennington this weekend.
Yeah, but I mean,
and Cyborg doesn't have anyone, right? I guess she's awaiting home and.
Yeah.
Vegan maybe, or
she showed up to a boxing fight this weekend. I think I heard wearing a Cyborg versus. I'm not up with the female boxing, but an important name there. Yeah, so I don't know.
I can't quote the name either. I don't know it. Gage, finished your call, or what you got?
That was it. Like I said, the dude from Boston stole my thunder with GSP and everything. I just want to let you know it came straight from Dana White on the UFC Unfiltered thing, but that's all I got for the day.
Did he sound excited about it, or what? I mean, Matt.
Oh, yeah, he actually did sound very excited about it. He was looking to put it as a co-main event on the Garbrandt and Dillashaw rematch. That's what he said. He's trying to eyeball it for there, but who knows?
All right, thank you. Yeah, see, man, I'm not into it as much. Look, once it's made, I guess I'll watch it.
Yeah, you'll watch it. Yeah, that's. I mean,
why wouldn't GSP want to fight Woodley, and why wouldn't Diaz want to fight Habib? Or if you're giving Poirier to Habib, why wouldn't Diaz want to fight Eddie or Kevin?
Do you think GSP would make more money fighting Woodley? I think he'd make more money fighting Nate. And so then I look at it, well, I'm older. That guy's explosive.
So we're going to circle back to something. Then once again, I know I'm right. I feel like I'm 99% right, but I eventually I run into people that go, I'm a martial artist, and it's not all about money. And GSP says that shit a lot. I'm a martial artist. It's not about money. It's never been about money or whatever. And sure enough, it always circles back. It happens when they get older. It's going to happen to you too, Charles. You're going to be like, oh, no, man, whatever the UFC wants, this, that, whatever. And then one day you're like, fuck, my back. I haven't been able to train. I haven't fought in 18 months. And you start realizing your body's not the same. I'm not a teenager. I'm not in my early 20s. Why didn't I rip up my contract? Why didn't I fight for my rights? Why didn't I get paid more? You know what I mean? And it always comes around to that. You know, not too many people, unless you come from money, like a BJ Penn, for example, you know, eventually you'll start to realize, did I get my share of the pie? The Fertittas made $4.2 billion off a $2 million transaction. It's not on Endeavor, formerly known as WMEIMG. It's not on them. They had to pay the money. You can't go to them and go, well, where's my piece? They're like, yeah, we just gave it to the Fertittas. So, you know, that's one thing that would bother me, is this whole martial artist. No, man, you're a human being. We all function with money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But he's proven that point about being a martial artist and his legacy. I think that all that's been done. I think it's all about making money now.
He seems like a guy that chases greatness. Why not chase Tyron Woodley?
He's already got greatness.
Yeah,
though,
he's already
there.
He's great.
So then the whole time he was bullshitting. It wasn't about martial arts.
I mean, your stance has changed, though, throughout the years.
That's true. You do change.
Shit changes. Every time you have a fight, you're in a different part of your life.
That is true, but within, I think, 6 months, he's been recently been quoted as saying, specifically the Nate Diaz challenge, that would be like punching below himself. You know, saying that wouldn't be competitive for rankings. It wouldn't make sense for titles, for legacy. So I agree, things change, and you shouldn't hold it against somebody, much less, you know, arguably, in my opinion, the best resume in MMA, George St. Pierre. But, you know, I get where George and a bit myself and other people, too, where the frustration would be, where it's like, okay, then just say you want that. Don't say that Nate Diaz isn't going to be worth this when this is what is on the table. So I think there could be frustration from there. But I will say the positive, though, is maybe the reason why they don't do the Khabib, you know, the Khabib Nate, and they don't want to tie up the division. So maybe they are listening to our criticisms in that sense. They're like, okay, fine.
Khabib would be defending, though, against Nate. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but then there would be...
The argument would be Nate didn't earn it.
Right.
I get that. But if they all want to make money and, you know, to super fight or whatever, at least tie up the division. One more break. All right, so let's do one more quick call here. Brandon from Louisville. What's up, Brandon? How you doing?
Hey, boys. How y'all doing?
What's up, buddy?
All right, Dan.
Not much. Trey Rosa. This hide-and-go beat thing, that's not like a traditional Boston game, is it?
I don't know. I mean, we grew up tough in Boston. You know, that's you know, especially having my uncle as a boxer and stuff like that. But
how bad was the ass whooping? So let's say you get caught.
No, like,
then what?
I mean there was no
like
bruises.
Shoot box,
there was no
kick in and shit.
There was no bruises or blood or nothing like that. You know,
like
it was just
like a Charlie horse on the shoulder,
just,
maybe.
Yeah, it was just a bunch of Charlie horses. You know, you know, Charlie horses until like to the point where you're like, you know.
But you wouldn't be crying. You'd be like laughing, right?
It'd be
you guys got me. Stop.
Sometimes you got it worse than others. Depends who was there, you know. But usually I didn't take it too far. But usually it was just, you know, just got to toughen up. And I mean, I never would get to the point where I was like crying or nothing like that. But it'd be like close sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
Dead arm.
You gonna try that, Brandon? At the next Brandon from Louisville family reunion?
No, I'm kind of worried about my girlfriend, though. She might try to sneak up on me and just waylay me.
She is a Bostonian, and she does have hands.
So I was in Boston a couple years ago. Got to see you fight Kyle Bosniak. Hell of a fight, by the way.
Thanks.
So getting to fight in front of your hometown, is it better or worse to have to fight another Bostonia? Do you kind of feel like, yeah, I'll get to, you know, take city props, or is it more of, man, why couldn't they put me in here against some guy from Texas or something? And
yeah, or like a whole other country. Yeah, definitely. Well, the one reason that I do like it, because my first fight, I fought a guy from Providence. I beat Sean Soriano. I submitted him, and he was like the toughest guy from Rhode Island. So it was kind of like pretty cool. Like they called it like a backyard brawl, Providence versus Boston. It was pretty cool to be able to represent Boston versus Providence, because there's always like a little tension between them, you know, and stuff like that. And you know, I was able to do that. But then when I found out I was fighting another Bostonian, I was like, man, like, you know, I instantly got a little bit extra respect for him. You know, he's a tough kid. He's from Gloucester. But I actually liked fighting another guy from Boston, because it made me feel like, you know, I was the toughest kid from Boston in the world. You know, I'm the toughest kid from Boston. There ain't nobody tougher than me. He was the only other guy that was there, and I beat him. So now that's how I feel. At least I can have that reign to being the toughest kid from Boston, or now New England, for beating the guy from Providence. And you know, at least I get that. But I definitely, you know, my next goal would be to maybe, you know, represent my country in Boston. Like maybe fight a guy from Japan. Like I really would have liked, you know, I know Mizuta Hirota moved up to 155, but I'm really upset. Like my last fight, I was supposed to fight in Japan. He didn't make weight. He was 5 pounds heavy, so they moved him up a division. But I would love to fight like a guy from Japan or Brazil or another country and be able to hold down Boston for something like that. But yeah, it's definitely a good question.
Good stuff, Brandon. Thank you very much.
No problem, guys. See you in 48 hours.
He's gonna hide and go beat.
Is he coming?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. All right. What's the occasion?
I can go beat. I think they're just coming to hang out.
Nice. All right, you're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. Stay close. We'll be right back. We have Charles Rosa in the house.
They pat down TSA agents because they don't know where those people have been. And because they can. They are Gorgeous George and Goes. And this is MMA Junkie Radio.
Start your day with SiriusXM. Enable the SiriusXM skill on your Amazon device. And then tell Alexa to set an alarm for your favorite channel, and you'll wake up to the sounds of SiriusXM. With SiriusXM and Alexa, you get the latest sports news each morning without picking up your phone or turning on the TV. Marco from Waco, we got about 90 seconds. What's up, buddy?
Marco from Waco, I want to speed dial this thing. Charles, you're part of the Junkie crew now. We're going to be rooting for you. We're keeping an eye on you, buddy.
Thanks,
you
brother.
got a legion of fans behind you already.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate that.
When it comes to GSP, don't tell me it's not about the money. It took them about a year to get the Michael Bisping fight done because it was all about the money. It was all about the money. Last thing, I would like to think about Fight Pass. 500,000 subscribers accounts to $60 million a year. Are they willing to give that up? That is still a form of revenue, man. I don't like it. Peace out.
All right, see you, Marco. It looks like the Fight Pass is staying, and you'll have to purchase ESPNU Plus and the Fight Pass. Hopefully there's some sort of a break so you don't get hammered on both, because, I mean, I'm thinking about myself. I would like to see the fights, so I'm forced to go to ESPNU. How often do I go back and see the archives? Kind of often, but often enough that I want to spend another 10. I don't know.
But this is something that we would all
Contender
assume
Series is
they
there.
thought of as well.
I think
right?
so too.
So they
yeah.
probably have a good answer for that.
So this news just came out today with the ESPN deal. That was okay. I didn't even know.
To the public, the sharp minds have known about this for a long time. But yeah, the public got it today.
All right, folks. Listen, we are up against the top of the hour. We will take this break here, and when we come back, we'll be talking to Cody Stamen. UFC bantamweight, 17-1 overall, 3-0 in the UFC. See what's next for him. Maybe Aljo, maybe somebody else. And then, of course, we'll continue on here with Charles Rosa, our guest co-host for the day. We'll see what's up next for him. Sounds like he's recovering from an injury, and maybe we'll get a fight booking sometime this summer. And, of course, you know any cat from the East Coast has some good street fight stories. I think he's already been teasing a couple, so we'll get a couple of those as well and touch on the latest news in the sport of mixed martial arts. Stay close. We'll be right back.
Fever, Las Vegas turning day into nighttime turning.
Does Jim Miller still walk out to this?
Yeah. Brought it back.
This is a great
song,
man,
great
for
walkout,
him.
top walkout
It's
song.
just got energy. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It always lifts the spirits of the crowd. But this last fight card was a fight night for him, so they don't have the walkouts with the exception of the main event, if I'm not mistaken.
Criminal.
But if I do see Miller fight, and he's been doing this for such a long time, so I have a lot of respect for him. I think he's at 30 fights. I look forward to the walkout just because I think there's some guys are just married to their song. You know what I mean?
And speaking of that parallel, when I couldn't help but think of that and think of our guest here because, you know, there's some fighters that just feel like they're going to put on an exciting fight when they come out. And I was telling, not just BSing now, because I actually told Charles this off camera. One of my favorite UFC debuts, we're talking about top 5, top 10 UFC debuts, was his fight versus Dennis Seaver. And it's kind of hard to say that, you know, when you lose a fight, maybe you're not so proud. But I also think it's kind of a compliment, right? If you can go in there and put on a show and people actually, you make fans, you know, which I'm sure you did off of that fight and started your UFC career off of that fight.
Yeah, and then on top of it, I got the fight of the night bonus, so that definitely helped a lot because
I noticed you got 3 in your losses, right? 3 bonuses in your losses.
Yeah, all my UFC losses are fight of the night, and they're all fights that I mean, I thought I could have won, especially Yair Rodriguez in Mexico. I lost a split decision. I still feel I won that fight, and I want it back one day because I just know that if that fight was in Boston, I would have won for sure.
You ever see him at the PI?
Yeah.
Right?
Oh no, I haven't seen him yet, but I mean, I'm cool with him now. But still, just I don't care. You know, I mean, I know that was one of the fights I had him broken, and I wish I could have. I wish I could have finished, but you know, it's part of the game. So you know, hopefully, I get a shot at that again or whatever comes. But yeah.
All right. So we've located our guest here, Cody Stamen. Like I said earlier, he's 28 years of age, 17-1 overall, 3-0 in the UFC. 3-0 in the city of Las Vegas for the UFC. How lucky is he? Look at the fight cards he's been on. 213, 216, 222. There's been some good ones there. And I saw him and Aljo talking the other day.
Yeah, it was part of one of our daily debates.
I was like, yeah. When we did the daily debate, and I started thinking, you know what? If we can help this fight come to fruition, great. I understand Aljo had the call out for Dominic even before this thing happened, but I haven't seen Dominic sign up for any form of a fight. And so, you know me, man, I like it when there's heat between the fighters. I think it's good for them too. It gets people interested in their fights, so the winner moves on and carries even more traction. All right, enough of me. Let's bring in Cody Stamen. What's up, Cody? How you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good. You got your bearings back? You just had a long trip to Japan, up and back. You good, or are you still like up at 4 a.m.?
Dude, I'm hurting, man. That jet lag. I was in Italy for some ACB fights, and then Ryzen last week. I did that back to back, dude. That's a lot of time change, a lot of traveling. I mean, I'm happy to be home, getting back to the grind, but dude, today I am like a pile of shit.
All right, so listen. Right now, as of right now, unless anything's changed, you don't have a fight booking, right?
No, nothing but.
Right. I was just scouring social media, and I see something heating up between you and Aljo. I like both of you guys, and I thought, man, this makes sense. Sure enough, the fans got involved, and you know, you had some things to say, he had some things to say, but I understood both points. What I wanted to ask, a few days have gone by now. You think there's a likelihood they could match you guys up? I'd love to see you guys fight here in Las Vegas on that big card that's starting to stack up, UFC 226.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a possibility. I mean, I think I'm 11 and he's 8. So, I mean, the numbers make sense. We're both ranked guys, both coming off wins against tough opponents. I mean, I can see it happening. He's not my first choice. He's not a guy that I honestly was like, you know, coming off my last fight with Caraway, I was like, oh, I want to fight Aljamain Sterling just because after I fought and beat Brandon Caraway, everyone's like, well, you know, Brandon Caraway doesn't win big fights, blah, blah, blah. And I still kind of got like that backlash, like, oh, you're still not legit. If I fight Aljamain Sterling, I'm going to get the exact same thing. People are going to tell me the same shit, like, oh, well, Aljamain Sterling doesn't have to win fights. He was good, one in the top 10. So I'd rather fight a guy like a Sun Tzu or John Lineker, someone that has, you know, is ranked a little bit higher, that moves me up a little bit faster. But, you know, if Sterling's the only guy, you know, whatever. And also, you know, John Dodson was a guy that that, you know, when they asked me right afterwards, I said I want Lineker or Dotson. Those are two guys that I for sure wanted to fight. But, you know, I don't know what John Dotson's doing, and I know John Lineker has got something booked up. And Aljamain Sterling's asking about. Yeah. So he's probably not going to be looking to get back in there that soon, and I am. I want to fight this summer. I want to fight July, August.
You want to stick with Vegas where you're 3-0?
I mean, dude, I'm not going to put it in my contract. I'm only fighting in Vegas. But
that's the way I roll, man. Vegas or just call me, you know, leave me alone for a while. Unless I'm on Vegas, you should tell them that. Throw your weight around a little bit.
Right. Like, is the fight in Vegas? Then no, I don't want to do it.
Yeah. Lineker has Brian Kelleher. They fight this weekend. I suppose a call out of the winner would be that wouldn't be out of line. And you mentioned another name, Asuncao. He's fighting Rob Font, your homeboy, Charles Rosa, co-hosting with us today. So they're kind of booked. So you're right. I guess in the process of elimination, you versus Sterling is yet another reason to like that, unless you want to wait for one of these guys coming off a fight. You know, but it sounds like you want to fight pretty soon. And I'm not trying to be a white knight or anything like that, but I felt like it didn't. When Sterling said, "Hey, listen, you know," he seemed like
he was trying to
further along.
Me.
Yeah, I'm further along than you are.
Yeah, I'm way up here. I'm way up here. I'm the man. That doesn't make any fucking sense because I just beat a guy that beat him. You know what I mean? And my record, I'm 17-1.
Right.
I mean, granted, I'm pretty fresh in the UFC, but you don't get to be 17-1 by being a rookie in the game. You know, I got 20 amateur fights and 20 amateur boxing matches. Like, I have a lot of fighting experience. So I think the fact that, Aljamain Sterling was trying to big brother me just makes me want to beat the shit out of him a little bit more. And, like, honest to God, he wasn't on my radar. I just popped on Twitter, and I saw what he wrote about being the best grappler in the division. I was like, fuck that. You suck, Aljamain. Like, you don't even win. Like, I don't know. Like, he just, he talks himself up like he's Conor McGregor, and then every single time they put him in a fight where it's like, okay, you win this fight, you're going to be a contender, he gets his ass whooped. So,
well, he is coming off a win over an undefeated fighter, and he looked good. So I understand what you're saying. He came up short on some other fights. With both guys, I could see your point. Like he's been around longer than you have, and he's looking towards Cruz. But you had every right to stand up for yourself. Not that it's MMA math. But you had a point in what you said. You had a win over a guy that he took a loss to. So I thought the fans didn't do their research there, and they felt like you were in a complete other planet, and in no way should you respond to Aljamain Sterling. But see, that's the shit I love, man. I love that TMZ and drama and Twitter beefs. And I figure, hey, if we can help a fight happen, then it's our place to do it. Cody Stamen, our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. What do you have for Cody?
Cody, we heard from both sides and what they thought of the matchup. Did you ever get anything from the matchmakers? Did they ever say anything like, hey, we're kind of into it as well?
No, I didn't. Nothing. I mean, my manager and I talked about it, and we kind of said that, like, if it pops up and, Sean Shelby says, hey, do you want to fight Aljamain Sterling? I'm going to say yes. But there are other guys that I believe are, better fights, as far as what kind of fight you're going to make. Like, Aljamain Sterling is a hard guy to make an exciting fight with because he either is kind of running around on the outside or he shoots. He can't really get in a dogfight with that guy because he's just not that style of fighter. I mean, if you watch a fight, they're never really that exciting. So I always thought Lineker or Dotson would be an exciting fight. Ultimately, I feel like that's what I need. I'm coming off 2 split decision wins. I need like a decisive, a big fight for the fans. I need a fight, that kind of puts me on the map with people, and that's got to be a highlight reel type fight, not another close grinder. And I could see me and Aljo having that kind of fight.
Your division's a lot of fun right now. There's a lot of good matchups. A win streak is very hard to come by, especially in the UFC, and you got a pretty decent one. But where do you feel like how many fights do you feel like you're away from a title shot? With the right opponents, how quick can you get there, do you think?
I feel like if I fought up twice, meaning that I fought guys that were ranked higher than me 2 times in a row, I could be in contention. But the thing is, right now at bantamweight, there's really like 4 guys that could easily get that shot. You know what I mean? I mean, Garban's obviously going to be the first one to get the shot, and then, Cruz could probably get that shot. Rafael Sunsao is on like a 6-fight win streak. He probably deserves a shot. And then the winner of Riviera and Morales, like, that guy could easily argue that he should get a shot too. So it's really, I mean, what did I say? That's literally 5 guys right there, or 4 guys that literally could be the next person to fight for the title. And like, who's to say, you know, who deserves it more? I mean, they're all winning fights. They're all winning big fights. They're all in big fights. So I really have no idea. I don't know. I mean, it's the UFC, like what those guys think behind the scenes. I mean, I don't think anyone really knows.
And
so,
let's not forget, if they fight, if Garbrandt and Dillashaw fight, and it's a barn burner, and Garbrandt wins, at some point the UFC is going to want to play the trilogy card. I don't know if it'd be immediate, but those guys have heat, and the UFC loves that shit. So, you know, I think right now, Cody, the best play is to just do you and wait for one of these opportunities to pop up. All right, let me turn it over to the fight analyst, Dan Tom. What do you have for Cody Stamen?
Hey, Cody. I'm glad you were talking about those other fights in your division because I actually wanted to ask you about them. Again, you know, you're an experienced cat. We're getting to learn more about you here on the show. We had you in the studio last time, which was great. But just kind of getting your opinion on breaking these fights down. You know, just about the John Lineker one. Like he fights this weekend, for example, against Brian Kelleher. What are your thoughts on that matchup? How do you see that one going?
You know, I think Brian's a really tough guy. I think you know, he's one of the up and coming guys that kind of popped in the UFC that has some real potential to be, you know, a staple in the division. But I think that his stylistically, he's a bad matchup for Lineker. I'm sorry, Lineker's a bad matchup for him because he's kind of in that he likes to get in your face, you know, walk you down, you know, throw heavy shots. And I think Lineker is a lot better at that game. And I could see Brian Kelleher, you know, getting clipped with a hard shot from Lineker. I think John Lineker wins that fight.
For sure.
You know, 9 out of 10 times.
For sure, and I get your point about pressure guys going against pressure guys, or the other example, you know, kind of countering guys going against countering guys. Just one last thought. You said it earlier, Moraes versus Jimmy Rivera. How do you see that one going down?
I think Moraes wins that fight, too. I think Moraes is just too good in and out. I think, honestly, he's like probably the best guy that no one knows about in the UFC. You know, I mean, I guess everybody, a lot of people do know about him, but I've never really heard anyone mention him being like one of the guys that could fight for the belt. And I think he probably is, you know, that guy behind Cruz and Garbrandt. You know, I think he's the next best guy. But I mean, I thought Jimmy Rivera was going to lose like 3 or 4 of his last fights, and he always comes out and wins. He's a hard guy to put away. He's definitely a mentally tough dude in the cage. He's a hard guy. He's got that will. No matter wherever the fight's going, he's like keeps pushing and he finds ways to win. So I wouldn't want to bet on that fight, but I think Moraes is going to win.
I also just thought of something. Moraes is 2-1 in the UFC. He's won his last 2 fights, but that first fight was against a Sun Sao and he lost.
Split.
So should they both win, a Sun Sao could be in the slight lead, just because of the head-to-head. All right, we also have Charles Rosa, UFC featherweight, co-hosting with us. He's got a question for you. Charles, what do you have for Cody Stamen?
Yo, what's up, Cody? Hey, I just had a question. Do you think? So you said earlier that if Sean sent you the contract with Sterling, you would take it.
Hmm?
Yeah. Do you think it's a good fight for you, or you said you don't like it? I mean, me, just like a look on the outside, you said he's ranked number 8, you're 11. Like, I feel like that's like a perfect stepping stone for you. He's a pretty he's one of the type of guys that is pretty like well known in the division, regardless of his ranking or how good he actually is or whatever. Like, I mean, I feel like that's a great fight, and I feel like most fight fans would want to see it. So, I mean, what do you think of it?
Stylistically, I think I beat him, just because I think I'm better on my feet. I can fight at different ranges. I mean, he's kind of he kind of kicks just on the outside, or he's looking to shoot. He doesn't fight well in like a boxing range. So I think that, you know, stylistically, I think I definitely win that fight. But I also think it's going to be one of those fights where there's not going to be a ton of action. It's not going to be a barn burner. You know what I mean? It's not going to be a fan favorite fight.
Yeah, but if it's one of those fights that'll get you to 4-0, and then you obviously you would take his ranking basically, then it would just be one step closer to the ladder. So I mean, as far as the fight fans, I understand because I'm like that too. Like, I want to fight the toughest guys and I want to have the most exciting fights. But the fact that you're undefeated in the division, like, you're realistically on a really good track and a really good road to the title. I mean, you're undefeated in the UFC. You're 3-0. If you beat him, you'd be 4-0, and then you'd probably get one of those top 5 guys that could give you a title shot, and that's like a solid division to be in right now. I mean, for me, just like looking on the outside, I mean, I know you want the exciting fight, but I mean, don't you think it would be good just to maybe to get that one, to get to the next level with the 4-0? Because even if you beat like a John Lineker or you beat one of those top guys, then you're 4-0, and you're probably still going to have to win another one to get to the title. So, I mean, don't you think it'd be good just to get a quick pay? You know what I'm saying? Just get like a payday. You know, you get a fight, you stay active, you're still in the news, getting wins, you continue your win streak, and then you're just one step closer to the title.
No, I 100% agree. I guess I never really thought about it, the fact that, you know, if I did even go beat Lineker at number 5, I would still have another fight, you know, before I got to the title. I never thought about that. But, no, that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, he's obviously the fight to make. Him or John Dodson, you know, those are the only 2 guys that aren't, you know, in contract or, you know, have fights coming up. So, you know, if I want to fight in the next 3-4 months, he's got to be one of the guys.
Book it. UFC 226, Sterling versus Stamen. I know I'm in. How about you guys?
I'm in.
Dan?
Do it.
Charles?
I feel like it already started.
Right? Yeah.
I feel like round 1 was on Twitter.
Much respect to Aljo, but he's not going to get Cruz because I don't think anyone's going to get Cruz right now. All the names are out there kind of taken, and he should build on that outstanding performance he had a few weeks ago. He's back in the win column. He got a little bit of his swag back. You know what I mean? Cody, I do want to ask you about something else. What was going through your head when Darren Cruikshank got a win but threw up them birds and the middle fingers? Did you think, like, I mean, the Japanese crowd's pretty chill, but oh, you didn't see it?
From the angle that I thought he just pointed at him.
Oh,
from the angle, because I was, you know, obviously sitting in the corner, you can't see like as well as everyone thinks. So I didn't see him flip. I didn't see him flip him off, but like just heard like the Japanese crowd like, and I was like, what the hell is that? And like, so I never saw it, and you know, everyone was like coming up like, why did he do that? Why did he do that? I'm like, why did he do what? Knock the dude out? Like, I mean, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Like, flip him off. Why do you flip him off? I'm like, oh geez, I didn't even see that. And like, they were actually kind of mad about it. I'm like, in America, that'd be like, that'd be a pretty cool thing to do. Like, knock some dude out, flip him off. Like, what's up? But
Japan,
over there, it's kind of a different world.
Exactly.
But even Aoki's done that a few times, hasn't he?
Yeah, Hirota.
Oh wow.
He's gone up and done that.
Broke his arm at the hammerlock and gave him the finger.
Yeah. Cody, well, since then, to be fair, Darren has apologized. So just so everybody knows, just the heat of the moment thing.
Yeah, he apologized.
What are you Are you like a great friend, or are you an outstanding cornerman that people are flying you to Italy, to Japan? Tell me about that role. Are you just there more for support, or do you actually lend a lot to the execution of a game plan? Do you see yourself maybe coaching down the road?
I mean, I think I'm a pretty good corner man. I mean, I cornered Darren in all of the UFC fights, but I mean, Darren and I are really good friends. We're we're real close. We've been training together for damn near 10 years. I mean, we started a gym together, and the other guy who in the corner three of us started Michigan top team together. Jason Fisher, you know, he fought in Bellator for a long time, and I kind of cornered these guys everywhere. Just because, you know, I feel like fighters, like having one fighter in your corner is always really nice because they understand kind of the struggles you're going through with the weight cut and all the shit leading up to the fight.
Right.
So it's kind of someone you can relate with. So I think that's why I end up on a lot of these trips. But yeah, well, I mean, we are pretty good friends.
That's cool. All right, man. Well, hey, I'm great. I'm glad that, you know, your name's picking up some traction here. You just debuted this last summer in the UFC, and things have gone amazingly well for you. We'd love to see you back here in Vegas or wherever it may happen. I think you deserve some big fights. Hopefully you get those. Thanks for letting us chat you up for 20 minutes. I know your body's feeling discombobulated, but maybe you can go get some rest. But thanks again.
Of course. Yeah, thank you. And thanks for following me on Twitter. I feel pretty cool now.
Awesome, man. Thanks for the follow back. Take care, brother.
All right, yep.
All right, we'll see you. All right, that is Cody Stamen, UFC bantamweight, 3-0 in the UFC, 17-1 overall. Ready for a daily debate?
Let's do it.
All right. You in, Charles Rosa?
I'm in.
Want to do some debating here? Listen, sometimes it is a debate, and sometimes I think we're all just on the same page. But we'll see. This one's going to be a close one. The question for today, brought to you by the MMA Junkie Radio team and UFC featherweight Charles Rosa, is which show produced more talent in 2017? Tough 26 or the Contender Series? Dan Tom?
Well, we are midway through 2018, so you can be the judge of how much we've gotten to see from that talent. But so far, and even projecting a little bit into the future, I'm going to have to lean with Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series. I feel like we've seen winners and losers from that show make it into the UFC. They've made some good accounts for themselves. Of course, we all know Sean O'Malley's making some loud noises, and many others. So that'll be my answer.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, Tough 26 is the season that had the flyweight division, with Nico Montano being the champion, the inaugural flyweight champion. She has yet to defend. A few of the others have kind of populated a card here or two. Roxanne Modafferi, stepped in and I thought fought valiantly, and I'm glad that she's got a place here in the UFC. But you're right, Dan. Not much has happened yet, in terms of the champion is always the one that leads the charge.
Right.
And nothing has happened. Unlike when, for example, when Carla Esparza fought or won her season, she immediately had Joanna, and then from there Joanna went, and all of a sudden 115 is a really exciting division. Rose Namajunas at the top right now. But yeah, 25 is still slow in the making. A few of the ladies are dropping. Valentina Shevchenko's dropping. A few of the ladies are going up, in weight. So I think it's got potential. But for me, for right now, it's Contender Series goes.
This is a tough question because I feel like Tough 26 may provide more fighters that will help out in the long run, but I feel like Contender Series provided the biggest star, and I feel like that's Sean O'Malley right now, and I feel like he's even going to gain more traction. So I guess my vote's going to be for Contender Series because I feel like there's more value there.
How about you, Charles Rosa?
Yeah, I think that's easy. I think the Contender Series, that's actually one of the reasons I'm out here, cornering my buddy Rico DeSchulo, and it's pretty obvious. Obviously, with Sean O'Malley, I got to actually hang out with him a little bit at the Performance Institute. Definitely a superstar in the making, like you guys mentioned. But also, you got to look at what the UFC has done. They've invested a ton of money into the Contender, and they've continued. They've booked tons more shows, where it's always like with Tough, you always wonder if it's going to be the last time you see the show. You don't know if they're going to do another one or if it's going to continue. But the Contender is one of those things. They got one booked all throughout the summer, every week, June 12th, June 19th, all the way, I think all the way to like August or something like that. So they've invested a lot of time and money into it. They're flying corners out to do the media stuff now. So I feel like that's the Contender show is only going to get bigger, and it's going to make a lot of superstars, and they're talking a lot about it.
Right. Yeah, I think, Goes, you also made a good point. Down the road, like, let's revisit this in a year, and we might go, wow, Valentina and Nico and all these other fighters. But for right now, for me, it's clear Contender Series. I'm also impressed with Alex Perez.
Yeah.
At the flyweight division, has dropped now to flyweight. I think he's 2-0 as a UFC flyweight. I want to see more out of him. So there you have it, folks. That's today's daily debate, brought to you by the MMA Junkie Radio team. And for those of you that are wondering the results, 66 agreed with the answers. With those that answered Contender Series, 34% went with Tough 26. That's it. All right, let's take a break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on SiriusXM Rush 93. We're 75% of the way home. And we'll be right back. We'll see if we can get a good street fight story out of Charles Rosa, our guest here on the MMA Junkie Radio Show.
Junkie Radio Network. Hit us up on Twitter.com at MMA Junkie Radio. This is MMA Junkie Radio. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Goes.
Barstool Radio is bringing their own unique flavor to sports and pop culture stories that are trending this week, from NBA to NHL playoffs, the latest Westworld theories, and much more. Enjoy refreshing content that's by the common man, for the common man. Barstool Radio on Power 85 and anytime on the SiriusXM app. That same SiriusXM app houses the MMA Junkie Radio Show, commercial-free and in HD quality. So if you missed any or all of the show, you can always revert back to it. And there's not just today's show, but many previous shows as well. We also have the Luke Thomas Show, Busted Open, At the Fights, SiriusXM Rush 93, Kickin' Ass. Oh, MMA Tonight with Misha Tate and Sean O'Connell. Also RJ Clifford and NFL Super Bowl champ AJ Hawk. All right, Charles Rosa, our guest here in studio. Boy, we've been teasing this one for a while. I walked into some street fight stories. We haven't been able to get to it because Junkie Nation came strong with the calls, and then we had our guest Cody Stamen. We did the daily debate, but now we can just hang back and have some fun. Take it from here, Charles Rosa. This is the part where I ask, can you share a good street fight story? I know Go's already warmed you up to it, so give us a good one, man.
All right, well, I got a couple, but I think the best one I'm going to have to tell is my first year when I moved down to South Florida. I was 23 years old. I just got a job working at Cut 432. It's a nice steakhouse in South Florida. And at that time, when I first moved to Florida, I didn't drive to Florida. Like, when I moved to Florida, I was actually, all I had was a bicycle. I had, staying with a couple friends. I only had a bicycle. It was my only way of transportation. So my bicycle, to me, coming right out of college, no money or anything like that, was like the equivalent of like your car getting stolen, So what happened is I got out of work one night. Actually, it was like midday at work, and I came out and I noticed my bike was gone, but it was so busy, a Saturday night service, like I couldn't like go look for my bike yet. So I'm like, I was like steaming all night just thinking, man, my bike got stolen. I looked out the back door, the bike was gone. I got off at work at like, To
10. Be fair, did you chain it and all that? Or was it just laying there?
Yeah, I chained it. They cut the lock.
Oh, wow,
they cut the lock. So, that it was, I did what I had to do. I locked it up. So I came out at like, 6 o'clock at night. Bike was gone. I was steaming all night. Get out at like 10:30 after a busy night of service. Like, Saturday nights at restaurants are crazy. Get out of work. And sure enough, I'm like, man, I told the kid from work, he's like, I'll drive you home. But I was so mad. I'm like, no, I'm looking for my bike. So where I work is on Atlantic Avenue in Delray Beach. And the top part of it is really nice, like nice restaurants. But as you get towards the bottom, it's the ghetto, And like, I have to usually ride through the ghetto to get to my house where I was staying.
Oh, so someone had spotted you.
So, I was like, no, I'm going to take a chance. I know that little spot. That's probably where someone stole it from, that area. And I'm going to walk through it. And I was steaming. So I had my backpack on. I was walking home that night from work, obviously pissed. And earlier in the week, sure enough, one of the other cooks gave me a bicycle for my light. A light for my bicycle because I didn't have one. I was just riding my bike at night with no light, and it had like a certain pattern. So like the fact that he gave it to me when I was walking home that night on the Ave, once I started to get towards the ghetto, like the worst area, I saw the blinking light flashing, and I was like, there's no way. I'm like, that's my bike. And sure enough, the kid on the bike, it was nighttime, so it was kind of hard to see, but he looked like Lil Wayne. He had no shirt on, riding my bike around just like, and I saw him cross the street, and I was like, that's it. So sure enough, crossed the street, walked up to him, and I'm like, hey, bro, I'm like, this is my bike. Just give it back. We won't have any problems, and we'll be good. He's like, fuck you, white boy. And I was like, listen, man, we can do this the easy way or hard way. I'm getting this bike back. Either you're going to get arrested or I'm going to take the bike back and I'm going to whoop your ass. Like, you don't got many choices today. Just give it back. So I pretty much just tried to pull the bike away from him. Just tried to take it back, the easiest way, like, because he said no first, so I just tried to take it. Then we started tug-of-warring for the bike. So I wasn't just going to, like, throw a punch at him or nothing like that. Like, I was just trying to take the bike back. And sure enough, like, I tried to, like, pull it into the middle of the street to kind of cause some commotion, so maybe he would just run off or something. But sure enough, he held on to it. So we're pulling the bike back and forth in the middle of the street. And by that time, it's like a two-way street, so all the cars are stopped. They see all the commotion of me pretty much, like, tug-of-war on this bike in the middle of the street. So both lanes of traffic are stopped at night. And it's busy at nighttime on Saturday nights on the Ave. So
are people yelling World Star at this point, right?
No, that was before World Star was really big. This is like
okay.
6-7 years ago, So it's when I first moved down to
YouTube,
Florida.
Vimeo,
yeah, whatever it was.
MySpace,
but there was people kind of getting out of the cars, like, hey, what's going on? Kind of arguing. Mm-hmm. But it's also like in the ghetto because everyone has to drive through the ghetto to get to their nice restaurants and stuff. So it's like tug of war. And sure enough, like, as I'm fighting for the bike, I kind of start looking around, and I see all the kids' boys are, like, coming out of the woodworks. They're like, yo, you good, Trey, you good? And I'm like, oh, man, I'm about to get, like, jumped or something's going to happen. Like, I had, like, a moment where time just froze, and I'm like, man, I'm about to either get jumped or shot or something bad's going to happen, but there's no way I'm leaving here without my bike. I'm not getting punked for my bike. That's just the way I am. Maybe it's my pride or whatever it is. So sure enough, pretty much, I just kind of had that moment of clarity. I said, I got to think of something. Like, so I was like, listen, I was like, I'll fight you for the bike right now, me versus you. And all his boys like, yo, run this shit, let's do it. And they all kind of like backed up a little bit, and it gave me that breathing room.
Smart move.
Yeah, like it was just quick thinking. You know, I knew, because I know, like, even if I was one of the people my boy was about to fight, if someone called him out one-on-one, you got to respect that. I don't care what culture you're from the hood, if you're from any, like, wherever you're from, like, everybody respects that, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, the winner takes home the bike, let's go. So sure enough, everyone kind of backed up.
What was the tail of the tape? How big was he?
He was, I'd say, 6 feet tall. I'm 5'9", and he was, I mean, he had dreadlocks. He kind of looked like I said, Lil Wayne, tattoos everywhere. Kind of thin, like shredded though. He had a six-pack. He was like jacked, jacked.
But he wasn't a boy. He was a man.
Yeah. He was a man. Yeah,
Okay.
he was probably like, I'd say 20, 25, and I was 23 at the time. So both even age.
So now we have a circle formed. Cars have stopped.
I came to find out later too that he part of a gang, and stuff like that. I'll tell you that towards the end. But so this kid basically just picture like a tall Lil Wayne, pretty shredded up, tattoos, and I'm like, man, this kid's no joke. I mean, I don't care though. At that point, I was already training for a year, so like.
Plus, you went with
Miller,
man.
Yeah, and plus, I'm from Boston. I'm not gonna let anybody punk me for my bike. It's not happening. So sure enough, we kind of let go of the bike, both of us. All his boys backed up. Like, go run this shit. Let's go. So now I'm in a fight. We come at, and surprisingly, like the kid was tough. It's not like just because he trained martial arts for a year, you can just boom, one punch, knock out some kid. I mean, the kid was a scrappy kid from the hood. So I started scrapping with him. We're going like back and forth. I'm hitting him, boom, boom, and then sure enough, like I just remember being like in a dogfight. I was really fighting this kid. It was tough. And eventually I got to the point where I just remember he hit me with a good shot, but I fell back and I grabbed him by his dreadlocks and I pulled him down and I just started uppercutting him. Boom, boom, started rocking him, dude.
Like Eddie Alvarez when he had Cowboy?
Yeah, exactly. But I had him by his dreadlocks. So, it's a street fight. This isn't, there's no rules really. So, so basically before I know it, the next thing I just kind of like snap. Once I like snap out of it, I have blood coming down my elbow on my hand. I look up. There's police cars coming. I just see blue lights, and this kid's like wobbled, like rocked, like falling to the ground. And I'm like, oh no, this is bad. Like, so the cops run up. They go with guns out. Put your hands up. Put your hands up. I put my hands up, backed up. He falls on the ground, but he gets up and tries to like kind of come after me. But I sidestep him, and then the cops grab him and he starts fighting the police officers. So I'm like with my hands up like, oh no, I'm good. And the cops like, stay there. I just kept my hands up, and this kid's like fighting with the police officers. They throw him in the cop car. I back up, and the cops like, what's going on? Like they didn't arrest me. They just guy took me off to the side to talk to me. And at that time, like, all of his boys were like, we're going to kill you. You better not come through here again. And I'm like, to the cop, I'm like, hey, man, you tell these guys to stop threatening my life right now. He's like, you shut up before you get both of us killed. And I was like, at that point, I knew I was in a bad area. I didn't really know how bad the area was. So sure enough, like, the cops kind of took me aside. So what happened, I kind of played it off a little bit. Like, I kind of had to just be like, yeah, the kid stole my bike, and I'm just trying to get it. I just tried to get it back, and I kind of had to lie a little bit. I didn't mention
the challenge.
Yeah, no, yeah. So I just kind of played an innocent kid, because I look like a young innocent kid. Like, they didn't really probably think much, but he's like, man, you really did a number on him, and I'm like, yeah, like I trained karate. Like I kind of underplayed what I actually did, because I didn't want to have any real problems with the police or like any like charges or anything like that. So sure enough, he's in the cop car. I'm sitting off to the side, and then they said to me, they go, how do you know it's your bike? And I go, for 1 second I was like, forgot, but then I remembered. I go, no, there's a light on the back this kid from work gave me. You can ask him, whatever. So that's the story. The next day I come. They didn't give me my bike back right away. I came the next day at the police station to pick up the bike. And I go to the place to pick it up, and the cop's like, oh, you're that kid who fought for your bike last night. And I go, yeah. He goes, you're a real idiot. I go, why? He goes, well, he goes, they're filming an episode of Gangland in that area. That's like a really bad area. You could have got yourself killed, and honestly, some of the police officers. And I was like, well, listen, I'm like, there's no way I was going to get punked for my bike. Like, well, I go, what would you have done if you were walking down the street and someone stole your bike? He goes, I would have just called the police and walked away. I go, well, that's the difference between me and you. And they gave me my bike back. And
punking the cops, huh?
I came back and my bike back. And the craziest part about this whole story, 2 days later, I'm at Publix. I go in to get I get a gallon of water. And
what's
my
Publix,
bike,
like a 7-Eleven?
Yeah, it's like Publix, like a supermarket.
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm on my way to work again, same bike that I got back from the stolen. And I go in to grab a gallon of water, didn't lock it up, and I come out, and the friggin' bike is gone. And I'm like, are you fucking joking me? And then, sure enough, I'm walking to work, and I see, like, basically it was just
the
like...
same day?
Yeah, same
Okay.
day. No, this is 2 days later. 2 days later from initially when it happened, I see a homeless guy was riding my bike, and I was like, yo, 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 and he just, like, got off of it, gave it back, and then a week after that, I'm at like a Steak and Shake type place, which is open till like 2:30 in the morning. And this guy asked me for some money. He's like, "Oh, can I have $1?" I reach out of my pocket to give him $1, and it's the friggin' homeless guy that was riding my bike. So like this crazy ass story. So basically, like he was begging for money. I was gonna give him money. I'm like, "Yo, that guy stole my bike," and he's like, "I did," and then that was it. But
so you didn't give him the $1?
No, I didn't give him the $1.
Okay.
No.
All right. Are you Pee Wee Herman, or what kind of bike is this? Is this like the coolest bike of all time?
No, it's just a regular.
Say he's like Liam Neeson and the bike's his daughter.
Yeah, because I understand why you want your bike. Because you said, this is my mode of
It's like the equivalent of you getting your car stolen at the time for me.
Yeah,
It wasn't
but
like,
that kid, to him, is it just a bike? Like, why is he going through all that effort? Because I think at that point I'd go, all right, you got me. Here's the bike.
I don't know. I mean, I think just especially since
he's
all his boys
he's
are there.
in his hood.
He's in his hood, yeah.
Charles is, he's got, okay, so you're a fighter, no disrespect, but he's got a clean-cut look to him.
Yeah.
So he's probably thinking, well, I'm not just going to
tattoos.
give it up, and I'm just, whistle away. That was a poor whistle. I'm a whistle away from, this guy can get jumped.
And all his boys are
6'1"
there.
and shredded.
But now there's cars out on the streets, and now people are looking. So, okay, now that you got your bike back, now do you have to worry about, like, I still got to drive through this motherfucker every day?
Yeah,
like,
so that's a funny thing. So I asked my chef, I'm like, no, I'm going to ride through there with pride every day. And he goes, and my chef's from New York. He's from the Bronx, and my chef, Tony. And he was like, listen, Charles, because I'll tell you a story. When I was a kid, he goes, the same thing. He goes, kid, pretty much same story. A kid got his bike back. He rode through every day with pride. And one day a kid threw a brick off his head. Ever since he said that, I was like, there's no way I'm riding through that same area. So I did for the first week, and I rode through it with pride. But then I was like, you know what? It's probably a smart idea, because what am I going to do if someone I'm on my bike and someone throws a rock at me or something? There's nothing I
Or
can
shoots
do.
you.
Yeah, or shoots me.
Or it's not just one dude, it's 5 dudes. Or,
so it's I mean, that was probably at this point in my life, I'm not sure I would take the same risks. I was a little bit more a daring, crazy kid when I was younger. I mean, I still wouldn't let anybody punk me for my bike.
You ever seen Trey
There's no
since
way.
then?
No, I haven't ever seen him. I
have
never
another
heard
question.
much of him.
Okay, so you were leaving work, which I imagine maybe you might have had like a uniform. Was there anything that Trey could have seen that said, I know where he works, I can find him?
No.
Did you have a big hat or anything?
I don't think, no. I wasn't walking down the street with my chef hat on. No. But the crazy thing is, I did have my chef knives in my bag, which I was like, when the cops kind of like, luckily they didn't like anything that happened. I thought about the next day. I'm like, man, I wonder if like I could have gotten more trouble. But no, nothing ever happened. I just had a white T-shirt on. I was walking through, and it was just funny though, like the cop's reaction where he's like, you did this to this kid? Because I was like, I mean, 7 years ago, I looked like I probably looked like I was like 16, 17 years old. I always had, a younger, clean-cut look, no tattoos and nothing. He was like trying to wrap his head around. He's like, wait, how did you mess this kid up? Like, he's bleeding everywhere. He's way bigger than you. He's taller than you. He's like from the hood. I'm like, I just defend him. I just had to play it off like self-defense, and which it kind of was in a way. I mean,
but in reality, you want to say that's how we roll in Boston.
Yeah. I wanted to let him know. But like, yo,
I ain't no fucking punk.
I know punk, exactly.
Southie, bitch.
And that's
Are you from
exactly.
Southie?
No, I'm not from Southie.
Okay.
I'm from Peabody, which is like 15 minutes north of Boston. But yeah, that's where I grew up. And like
what do you have to say about those
doesn't-
people that are like Southie, Southie, South? All the movies around
man,
South
that's
is the
good.
North just the stuff that's
Yeah,
the South?
yeah,
or?
it's all the same. I mean, you're all from pretty much the same area, and you have the same morals and
They seem to have more street cred than
respect.
you guys, though.
Yeah, they got a lot of street cred, but
It's a damn Goodwill Hunting, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
There's Goodwill
exactly.
Hunting. There's the movie
It's
with
all the same. It's all the same.
Departed?
Departed, and then there's the other one too with the florist guy and Affleck and.
Yeah, Southie does get all the credit though. Yeah.
I was gonna say you're not helping the stereotypes though with all these
they get
street
the
fighting
term.
stories. It's reminding me of that movie where they're like, "Hey, isn't that Carmine Scar Pack? Like,
Yeah,
kid used to
yeah.
beat the shit out of me in kindergarten." They just go at
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
Like this is a normal day in the life.
Yep. Exactly. And then and there's another story. Probably I don't have time for the whole thing, but the same thing. I had to switch schools from my school in Peabody, Massachusetts, to New Hampshire because I got in trouble for skipping.
What grade?
12th grade. So I was a senior in high school.
Let's hear it.
Senior. Okay. Senior in high school. I skipped out to go to the Patriots parade. We won the Super Bowl. You know, that happened like almost every year. But
okay, so
that
was just slipping that in there.
So, damn, you beat me too. So this wasn't last year then. Okay.
No, so that was and I skipped out to go to it. So sure enough I got in trouble, got expelled somehow. And
for that?
Yeah, it was like a combination of a lot of.
Principal's a hater, man.
Yeah, he was a hater. He's gotten.
Was he a Seahawks fan?
It was a lot of things. Well, it was the kid who was driving the car. Like, you know, it wasn't from the school, and I got in a lot of trouble. I got into trouble, and they expelled me. So I had to go to another school, which was Winnicott in New Hampshire, because luckily my parents, we had a beach house up there, so I was able to transfer schools. So at this point in my life, I've already been through like a lot of stuff. You know, I've been in like juvenile detention centers. I went to jail when I was 17 for 30 days for, you know, getting in trouble. So I was always like a troublemaker and got in a lot of trouble as a kid. So I've already kind of, I was a tough kid. Like, it wasn't like I was just some kid that never been through anything. I've been in places, and sure enough, I go to school, and literally, like, I didn't really have many friends there, so I didn't really know many people. But the second or third day I was there, straight up a kid tried to take my lunch money. And this was like
at
just
New Hampshire.
In New Hampshire, yeah.
At the age of 17
years old. 17 years old. And this is after I've already been.
He just said, "I'll take that." Like, he thought he was in third
grade.
grade.
No, he didn't try to take on. I was actually with this one kid that I was hanging out with. His name was Jaron, and he tried to take Jaron's lunch money. And I was like, "Dude, you're not gonna take his lunch money. Like, I'm not letting that happen. Like, you're not bullying him." Like, and he goes, "How about I take your money too?" I was like, "All right, well, let's go." I was like, "Why don't you try to fucking take it? You know, see what happens." And then he's like, and he dropped his bag to fight me, and I'm like, dude, I just went through this whole process to get into this new school. I'm not fighting anybody. I can't get expelled again. Like, I'm done. Third day of school. So he goes, all right, he goes, "I'll meet you at the skate park after school." I was like, all right, let's do it. So all day I'm waiting. Fucking kids in school are telling me how this kid's gonna whoop my ass. His name was Chaput. He was 6'3", 250, captain of the hockey team. Kid was a beast. Like, probably juiced up, you know.
What's his name?
Chaput, yeah. He's a big, strong kid. Yeah. I mean, he sounds like a fight name too. So I was like, all day, like, "You're gonna fight Chaput." Everyone knew he was the toughest kid in school. And like I said, I don't look like too much. I was, 17, probably looked like I was 15 or 14, 15. And the whole day goes by, everyone's telling me, "Oh, you really gonna fight him? Really gonna fight him?" Kind of like that movie that just came out. What was it, with Ice Cube in it? Like,
oh,
you know
the teacher?
Yeah, all day everyone's like, "Oh yeah, you gonna fight him? You gonna fight him?" And I'm like, yeah. And I'm kind of getting
Which was like
anxious.
3 o'clock high, by the way.
Yeah, I was gonna say 3 o'clock high, Buddy Rebel.
Yeah.
There you go.
And at the end of the day, I was honestly pretty anxious. My hands are sweaty. I'm like, dude, like, it was all day. I had to wait for this. And sure enough, after school, I go and meet him at the skate park. The entire school's there. Everyone's jumping up and down. It's like
Jaron by your side at least?
Yeah,
or did he bail? Because he had his back.
No. Yeah, Jaron drove me. Jaron, this kid Bobby Digital, I used to call him, and another kid. It was 2 freshman kids.
Bobby Digital,
yeah,
I like that.
That was my nickname for him. He was a freshman, but he was a good kid. He ended up, but they drove me to the fight because those are my only 3 friends at this point.
Right.
So they had my back since day one, I could say, in my new school. And
baseball
they
bat
drove
in
me
the
to
trunk
fight.
or anything? Or?
No, I just went in my gym shorts. I had my gym shorts from gym class, and I put my gym shorts and my running shoes on, and I walked out in my white wife beater, walked out of the car. Stepped out of the car, the whole school's already there, and this kid Chaput is just, I could only see his head above everybody else's jumping up and down because he was the biggest one. And I was like, damn, dude, fuck, I'm like, this kid's pretty big. Like, he's bigger than I thought he was, he's jacked up, probably on juice too. He's a strong kid, and got out of the car, and I knew right away, like, I wasn't gonna go
he's
talk to him.
jumping up like Kevin Randleman back in the day.
Yeah, like pounding his fist together, and I'm like, I'm not gonna go at him.
In peace.
Yeah, and I'm not coming here to talk to him. Like, I'm not, the whole school's here. I'm not gonna come here and be like, "Hey man, sorry, like, we're cool, right?"
Right.
Like, he was ready to fight. I was ready to fight. I'm like, let's do it. So I just went at him and just boom, cracked him in the face. He didn't fall or nothing. He stepped back, and I was like, oh shit. And then we started just going at it, and I was just using my jab because he was big, kind of like running away a little bit, but just jabbing him.
Tell you what, hang on to this. Let me do this to the listeners. Every once in a while, I got to be a dick. If you want to hear the rest of the story, stay with us. We got one more break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. We have UFC featherweight Charles Rosa in the house. He's getting ready to box it up with Chaput in the mean streets of New Hampshire somewhere. So stick around. We'll be right back to finish up the story and the show.
How to whistle. Here are Gorgeous George and Goes.
Listen to Fantasy Sports Radio for expert advice to win your fantasy baseball league and start preparing for fantasy football season. Their experts tell you how to make winning trades, which NFL rookies will be future stars of fantasy football on Series 210, XM87, streaming on your phone and at the home on connected devices and speakers. It's a little twist there. I never had to say that part. All right, so Charles, Rosa, you're telling us a story. You're in New Hampshire. You're at the park. Some big dude that's 6'3", 250, possibly juiced up, is meeting you there because he tried to take your buddy's lunch money. You stood up for the guy. You didn't want to have the fight there immediately at school because you had just transferred to the new school. So, again, we're back at the park, and you guys have already thrown some punches, but it looked like you got the early lead. So far, it's 10-9 you in that round.
Yeah.
Because you got him, but he seemed to eat that punch without a problem, right?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I walked up. I wasn't shaking his hand and going there to make peace. I wasn't there to make peace. I was going there to fight. So I walked right up to him, punched him in the face. I mean, he knew he was jumping up and down ready. Didn't do much, but he came at me, and I started using my jab a little bit because I know he was much bigger. Had to use my speed a little bit and was jabbing him up, landed like a solid right hand. And then I backed up a little bit, and he just had blood running down his entire face, breathing heavy, and there was just blood coming down his nose, down his chest. And he looked at me, and I'm like, "You done? You done?" I figured he was done because he had blood. He was out of breath. He was toast. And sure enough, he just does he gets really mad. He just takes a couple deep breaths and just charges me big kid. And so I literally started kind of running because my first instinct was kind of back up, but by that time he was pretty close to me, and I was almost running from him, and I just ripped a spinning back fist. No one taught me how to do it. It was just natural instinct. Just ripped a spinning back fist, and it boom landed perfectly clean. Dropped him on the floor. The second he hit the floor, he was literally knocked out. So you know how when people are knocked out, they do that snoring thing, yeah. But he had blood coming out of his nose and his mouth. And the second that he hit the ground and that started happening, I heard police sirens. So I'm like, oh, did I just kill him? Everyone's like, oh my God, you know what I mean? And I hear the sirens and I'm like, oh shit. So I hop in Bobby Digital and Jaren's car, and we take off. And
Bobby
we get
Digital
away.
sounds like he's got one of them glow in the dark Mitsubishi
Yeah,
Eclipses or something.
he does exactly just like that. He's a cool little kid. He's a cool little kid. Hop in his car and I'm out. I got off there and actually, sure enough, it was funny because that same day. The next day I met a girlfriend that I ended up having for 4 years and
Based
stuff like
off
that. Yeah, well, I mean, you know what I mean.
Hey,
I
you're
was
the
man.
guy.
Yeah, I was the man. Then, so it was just funny. So
Did you
yeah,
see Shabut the next day?
So this is the craziest thing. So the next day, I go in a class, and there's this class called Senior Seminar, and it was the first time ever in the class because it's only my fourth day of school, but they only have this class once a week. And sure enough, I get into the class, and guess who's in the class? My first class of the day, Chaput. Two black guys, and the freaking teacher goes to him. One of the first things we sit down, and I'm just in the corner, damn, I hope I don't get in trouble for this. The teacher goes, his name was Mr. Beatty. He goes, Brian. His name was Brian Chaput. He goes, Brian. He goes, what happened? And then, he's like, I got in a fight, and he goes, did you win? And then Brian just, he looked over, he looked at me, and he just didn't say anything. And he goes, okay. He goes, we'll start the day. And that was it. And I never got in trouble for it. Nothing ever happened, but it was just funny. So the day after that, he ended up shaking my hand. He learned that I was a hockey player also. He was the captain of the hockey team. So we made up, ended up being cool. I guess I earned my respect in the school. Got a nice new girlfriend
but
the next
day. But not
day.
before you put a beating on him.
Yeah.
You like
That's
that?
good. Yeah. That was good.
Yeah, that's not bad.
And that's the story. So.
All right, we got 60 seconds left. How soon do you think you're going to fight?
I think by the end of the year. I think you'll see me in the cage by the end of the year. Very latest January.
Who do you want to fight?
Really, at this point, I just want to get back in there. I'm coming off a tough loss. It was a fight of the night against Shane Burgos in New York, and then had one fall in Japan. But there's nobody in particular I want to fight. Okay. But I just want to get back in there and.
But the neck injury is
on
its process.
Perfect.
And you're coming back for a series of fights, barring any other injuries.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm good to go, healed up. Just want to get a full camp in, and then I'll be ready to go.
Thanks so much for stopping by and doing the whole
guys.
show. We had a blast with you.
Awesome.
If you ever come back to Vegas, let's do it again. We'd love to.
Awesome.
But either way, it's fun covering you via the phone and having you all those other times. But this was epic, man.
Awesome.
The stories were great.
You got 20 seconds. Who wins, shot put or Trey?
Ooh,
They fought.
Should put.
He does. He beats
Yeah,
Trey.
he's
Looks like Trey
too
gave him a
big.
better fight. All right.
Yeah,
All right.
Trey gave me a better fight, but should put.
On Twitter, at Charles Rosa MMA. And thank you to Cody Stamen, at Cody Stamen on Twitter. Let these guys know you heard them on the at MMA Junkie Radio Show. Rich Franklin will join us tomorrow. And Joseph Benavidez will roll in with Lance Palmer and Mashal on Thursday. We're out of here. Be champions.
I'm gonna keep on